It's a 3.5 minute video. You can watch a protester kneel down right next to a shield. You can see a cop on the other end where you have security footage of the cop firing into the protesters, and you can see the guy fall over and die. There have been independent organizations that have been brought in to model the ballistics, that have been brought in to analyze all the video footage. Like, at the very least, you can absolutely say that some people were shot at by police officers. That's like, it's irrefutable.
Oh, sure. So I thought you were talking about the snipers. Did I go there myself?
I'm not talking about snipers. I'm saying that there were police officers shooting and killing protesters. Over 100 people died. Right?
Yeah. So
this is why Yanukovych fled the country. Is because protesters were getting killed by cops. Oh.
Okay, so I admit that. I thought you were, so my bad. I actually made a mistake.
Where Russian soldiers were staged outside. No, staged outside.
Obviously, this is the guy, he made that video that responded to your comments about Azov Battalion.
Last word, just for context, Destiny lies about the Azov Battalion. Before we get into debating the ethics of the Azov Battalion, this is a fighting force of maybe 2,500 people, of whom 10 to 20% are supposedly neo-Nazis, out of a Ukrainian army that has over 200,000 active military personnel. The idea that Ukraine is some hotbed of neo-Nazi activity is just hilarious.
So basically what's happened is Destiny has literally gone to the Wikipedia page of Azov Battalion, and he's literally just taken everything on face value, I guess.
I don't know if you wanted to kind of go over it again or what you want to do, but go on.
Yeah, okay, sorry, go for it.
Go on, Haz.
So I was just going to say about the last point. I don't know anything about this organization, so you're going to have to enlighten me on this specific thing.
Well, I mean, I guess so. Here, hold on. I'll Google this for you. But
wait, so I have to be kind of honest, obviously. I don't really trust the source.
Okay, so then
probably
you understand that.
Source.
Who do you trust then?
I trust a lot of the actual footage that I've seen in the Donbass since 2014. There's been some documentaries made by a French documentary.
So you've seen footages of people being raped?
Oh, I haven't seen footage of the rapes. I've seen the bombings. I've seen people die. I've seen.
Okay, sure, but bombings and dying is kind of part of like conflict, right? It sucks, but I mean, like.
So this is okay. So this has been done, from my perspective, by literal neo-Nazis against civilians since 2014. Nothing has been done about this. I believe that officially even the West acknowledges that there's been like 13 to 14,000 deaths in East Ukraine due to the conflict, right?
So what's the solution? But what's the solution?
So my problem is that nothing was done about this at all, even though we know, because there's been reporting about this, it was very openly known that there was a big neo-Nazi problem in Ukraine.
Okay, hold on. Okay, let's do one thing at a time, okay?
I'm going towards one thing.
Well, but you talk about the Civil War and like nothing's being done about this, and then you want to talk about neo-Nazis. Let's talk about the Civil War. What can be done about the Civil War, right? We've already had the Minsk Accords that were broken like 1,000 times on both sides. Ukraine's obviously not going to give the territory.
Ukraine was not upholding it.
Neither side was upholding it, and that's like ubiquitously known. The idea that just one side broke it is the most bad faith interpretation of what's been going on, right? I'll be honest with you and tell you that, like, yeah, Ukraine probably wasn't doing their side as well, but like the separatist movements that are literally getting funding from Russia are also fighting too, right? You can't just tell Ukraine to give the states up, can you? Like, oh, the Donbass, I think this is not yours anymore, or?
From my point of view, I definitely could, because of the fact that they are ethnic Russians. There's a clear difference according to them.
Why do you think them being ethnic Russians means Ukraine loses the territory?
So, okay, so this is going to sound really weird, a Soviet tanky thing. I'm a capitalist. I used to be a liberal, now I'm like unaffiliated. I'm still a capitalist. But what happened is, obviously, after the Soviet Union fell apart, we had a massive amount of these Russians in eastern Ukraine, in Crimea, in various places elsewhere.
Why were they in Ukraine and Crimea?
That happened fucking years ago, Destiny, okay? So, for example, I will admit that in the Crimea, the population wasn't originally majority Russian. However, it became majority Russian.
Sure.
In kind of a similar way that North America has become majority Caucasoid.
Sure, and Eastern Ukraine also had hundreds of thousands of people die during the Holodomor, and a lot of ethnic Russians were moved in. Do you think that gives Russia then a legitimate claim to the land? Like, if I could put an example, do you think that Mexico could try to take away some southern states from us, or there's a lot of ethnic Hispanic people living there?
I don't know that much about America. I would rather talk about Europe. I'm European. Well, I'm Nigerian, but
Okay, if I find
European.
any I don't know as much about like Western European history, but I'm sure I could find there are probably some parts of like fucking. I'm sure there are parts of France where in summer vacation there are a fuck ton of British people there, or Italy or whatever. Should British people get to claim like parts of these territories because a lot of British people go down there for vacation, like, or if there are like ethnically people living like that, just seems like a huge threat to a state's sovereignty. The idea that you just lose territory, yeah.
You could kind of open a dispute. Now, whether or not it would justify a war would come in this Ukrainian case. The reasons why I think that there's justification for war is not specifically because there's these Russians in this region. It is because of what's being done to these Russians, basically by the Ukrainian government.
Yeah, I mean, it's a war. They're trying to separate from the country, of course. Like,
Why is it a war, Destiny?
Because you have
How did the war start?
I think after Crimea in 2014, I think that these two regions wanted to break away after the revolution.
You're not going to the source, Destiny. Why did Crimea happen?
Why did Crimea happen?
2014.
In 2014, my understanding is that after the revolution and after Yanukovych was gone, because Putin felt like whatever, there was some threat that that country was going to be moving in a different direction, rather than risk losing Sevastopol, rather than risk losing that country with Crimea there, they decided to go down, take over that entire peninsula and annex it so that it worst comes to worst, at the very least, Russia still has that access to the Black Sea.
So really quickly about Yanukovych, like you just said that it was a revolution. I would just say that this was like something that the Western Ukrainians, the ethnic Ukrainians, did to oust the Russian kind of.
Did the Western Ukrainians make him force the police to shoot on civilians?
There's no evidence for that.
There absolutely is evidence.
So, no, there isn't, Destiny.
There
so
absolutely
what they're
is.
No, so Destiny, listen. So there actually isn't. I used to think this a long time ago as well when I heard about it in the news, but like no, there actually isn't evidence for that.
Okay, here
I'm
posting,
there's a few things.
Wait, hold on, real
so
quick.
there's a few things. No.
So I can't just post a link?
No.
Okay,
listen.
my bad. I'll post it in Chudlogic to chat. If you guys want to look through, like, independent agencies have gone through and like analyzed like the ballistics.
So
like,
this is my guy
Chudlogic
stream. It's not your stream,
Okay, go for
buddy.
it. Go for it.
Okay. So what there's evidence for is communication among the police who are trying to wonder where the fuck are these shots coming from. I believe that it was a hotel window. I don't remember the exact specific that it ended up coming from, and they didn't just fucking. There's just no conclusive evidence for it being the police. It didn't come from their direction. Also, there's evidence of the fucking protesters and the agitators having guns, including snipers, with them. So this isn't like a clear case of, oh, the police shot them because the politician told them to. We don't actually know that. Of course, that's the Western media side, because let's be honest, for decades, the West has wanted Russia and that region to kind of splinter off into smaller parts to be easier to handle. So
okay, so without all the conspiracy nonsense, right? So I'm gonna link you something. Okay. Can you watch this 3.5? Like it's 2022, right? There's fucking video. Well, I guess back then it wasn't 2022.
Okay,
but there's video footage of like everything. Like the idea that you can pretend that these are like here. I'm trying to add you as a friend. Like. You can watch, there's a 3.5 minute video. You can watch a protester kneel down right next to a shield. You can see a cop on the other end where you have security footage of the cop firing into the protesters, and you can see the guy fall over and die. There have been independent organizations that have been brought in to model the ballistics, that have been brought in to analyze all the video footage. Like at the very least, you can absolutely say that some people were shot at by police officers. That's like, it's irrefutable.
Oh, sure. So I thought you were talking about the snipers. Did I go there myself?
I'm not talking about snipers. I'm saying that there were police officers shooting and killing protesters. Over 100 people died. Right?
Yeah. So
this is why Yanukovych fled the country. Is because protesters were getting killed by cops. Oh.
Okay. So I admit that. I thought you. So my bad. I actually made a mistake there because like I've discussed the snipers with like people previously, but I would still defend that because of kind of the nature of the quote-unquote protests, because they actually were like right sector guys, and I don't know if Azov was there, but like there were these ultranationalists and like people who actually were armed there. So I'm sure some people got shot by police. However, the sniper thing is a fucking complete.
I don't know. I'm not looking. I'm just looking at the things that I know verifiably are true, 100%. So we
Okay,
know that
so-
is the
so
case. Do you
be-
think that the protests around February 20th, do you think they started to get a little bit more extreme because Yanukovych was literally trying to pass laws to curb the ability for people to democratically protest? One of the laws that he tried to I don't remember if this is called Black Tuesday or Black Thursday or whatever, when the parliament passed like 10 huge anti-protest laws. One of these anti-protest laws literally gave cops immunity from killing protesters. Like, I don't understand how...
Qualified immunity.
No, that's not how
Kind of.
qualified. Kind of. Why?
similar.
Wait. Why was George Floyd's killer just fucking sentenced to life in prison? Why the fuck? Like, what do you mean? Kind of. You think this is the same as qualified immunity in the United States?
No,
tell
I
me
don't know.
Tell me
You
you're
haven't
white.
linked the
Tell
thing
me
to
you're
me
white
yet.
without being white. Okay. Wait. Linked what thing?
Wait, I'm not, dude. Wait, listen, that's a slur. I am Nigerian. People keep telling me I'm white in the chat previously. That is a slur because people don't believe that I'm white.
White is a state
Despite
of
being
white is a
Nigerian.
state of mind. Okay, not a skin color, my friend. Here, I linked your
Just
thing.
for the sake of being woke and whatnot, what is your racial background, Haas fan?
I'm
Just so we can
Igbo.
get it. Okay, got it. So can we please respect the races of everyone involved? Thank you very much.
Does that mean I
So-
can only
so-
use slurs of that particular race, Chad? Is that what we're...
Correct, that's it. And unfortunately, we're going to have to unlock the slurs for you as well, but I'm sure you'll be okay with that.
Okay, cracker. Anyway, my bad. Fuck. I'm half.
Yeah, listen, let's all
okay,
get
I'm
okay,
half. Okay, listen.
let's
I'm
not-
half white.
Let's
I'm
not
half
break the
white.
Twitch gods, okay? Look, that's it. All I care about is TOS, okay? That's all I'm saying. Let's
Listen,
not
I'm
break the Twitch
half
gods.
white. I've got all the words. I'll be honest. I would defend a lot of the things that were done by Yanukovych. I really would.
Okay, and that's
So,
fine.
like-
but if you're going to
so-
defend those things, you have to understand that, like, when you start enacting anti-democratic measures in a population that's protesting you, the protests are just going to get worse, right? Like, that's like the next
Yeah.
natural reaction, right?
Yeah, so I will acknowledge it completely. There was like this clusterfuck of a protest, for sure. There was also ultranationalists saying that Yanukovych has to resign, and they well, okay, so this is kind of conspiracy theory type stuff, but like they were pushing him to resign, and what ended up happening, and this is the real problem, is that unconstitutionally they got rid of the pro-Russian president.
You say unconstitutionally, but I mean, like, a temporary government was formed. A temporary government voted on him leaving, and then it was like 300 plus votes people voted for. Was it Yatsenyuk? I don't know how to pronounce the guy's name. The guy that came in after, who was already the opposition leader anyway. Like,
He was still the president, so I don't think that there should have been a temporary government.
do you think that there is any way by which, or, I mean, like, I mean, the guy was ousted, but I don't think that the ousting, like, it's always presented as like Western-backed coup or whatever. The reality is that, like, when you start killing
I
protesters,
would say
with
it's
your-
Western Ukrainian. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily like
Okay, sure, but we can call it Western
world.
Ukrainian, but like we can see what happens in the aftermath, right? In the aftermath, it seems like the anti-Russian presidents are picking up a lot of popularity. It seems like the majority of the country seems to be supporting new leadership afterwards, after Yanukovych left, and then Zelensky now. So I mean, like, it seems like the will of the people. Like, I think like another example of this, that went in the opposite way, was Evo Morales Bolivia or Venezuela? Fuck, Jesus.
Well, we don't have to go through that. So
Well,
I
no,
can
but,
actually give-
but wait, hold on. What I'm saying, just real quick as an example, right? When Morales was ousted in Bolivia and people, were like, oh, this is illegal, blah, 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 but then they held elections again. Didn't they bring him, or at least his party, back into power after elections were held? So it seems like, okay, sure, he got ousted, but then he came back and they did that, right? The same thing could have theoretically happened with Yanukovych, no? Where like, okay, well, this was illegal. Not most of the Ukrainians wanted this, blah, blah, blah. And then when they held like a new election afterwards, couldn't they have theoretically brought back Yanukovych or someone else if that was the will of the people? Like, it seems like the guy was ousted, and that was a pretty popular decision across the majority of the country.
I'm sorry. Were you just saying that like after they had a massive change and then they had an election, right? So the will of the people basically reigns. That's kind of what happened in Crimea. They had an election. They had didn't they have two elections?
In
One to
Crimea,
leave
they
and
had
one
an
to join?
election that was held at gunpoint after Russia already stole the territory.
Gunpoint.
Where were
They
all...
already had a base there. They had massive amounts of Russians.
Literally
in there,
no
ethnic
one else in the
Russians.
world recognizes the validity of that election. They stole the territory and then they quote unquote held an election.
No
and I'm
one
pretty
else?
sure every single independent...
What's China's take on this? I actually don't know.
If I had to guess, China's take was probably we're not going to have a take on it. They probably didn't say anything. That'd be my guess.
That's over 1 billion human beings. They're not white, they're not Caucasian, but they're human beings.
Why does the number of people matter? I would probably look to like international, tribunals or international systems of election validation, not which country has the most people.
So there's this problem with a lot of these things that are happening is that typically, when Russia does something, the Western world will condemn it, and then the rhetoric kind of becomes that, oh, the entire world is against Russia. Russia is bad. You should be against Russia too, because the entire world is against Russia. Meanwhile, half the fucking population is actually with Russia, and there might actually be a legitimate argument to do so, to be pro-Russia.
In that case, then China and India together make all the decisions for the rest of all of humanity, since like the two of those countries have almost half the population of the planet. It doesn't make any sense.
Pepe wins.
No, of course not.
Well, that's the argument.
But I think
me.
that we should. But so the Western world has certain interests that it has.
No, come on. This is wait. This is boring. No. Come on.
Okay.
We have to be honest, right?
Okay.
You can't just say like, well, the Western world has certain interests, so they're going to lie and cheat and steal and rape and murder and do everything to break
They
all
have
the
done
rules.
that.
Okay, in that case, for
They have
brevity,
done that
sure.
quite a lot.
For brevity, next time just say, hey, I don't trust any Western institutions. Everything they say is a lie, and then we don't even have to waste time having the conversation, right? Because nothing I say is going to move you.
So let's not waste time. Let's not waste time. Okay. So the problem here is that in 2014, the Russian ethnic group in Ukraine lost their fucking leader, basically, in a pretty horrific way. There was a massive problem in Ukraine where half the population wanted to kind of be part of the Western Europeans, join the EU, join NATO even, like that's been talked about. And then the Eastern Ukrainians, who are majority Russian, they're kind of like, hey, we kind of want to keep our ties to Russia. We want to have these trade deals with Russia because Russia is trying to kind of undercut the deals, give a better deal for Ukraine to, persuade them to stay like kind of in with them instead of joining the EU and NATO. I think that was going to be a fair trade. But anyway, the point is that the Eastern Ukrainians wanted to. There was a massive split with the East wanting to be part of Russia, the West wanting to be part of the Europeans. Now, what happened is that there was legitimately people in the East who wanted to just join Russia. So there wasn't just little green men, Russian men, who suddenly went into Ukraine and were like, hey, we're going to take a part of your country. No, actually, the people inside of those parts of Ukraine wanted to get the fuck out of Ukraine because they had such a massive difference.
Well, then they can go and migrate back to Russia or immigrate back to Russia.
So, okay.
Hold on, wait, real quick. You laugh, but that's just as silly as me saying, a lot of people in my country want to be part of Russia, so we're just going to break away this state and join Russia. You can't just do that. Like,
so that is something that a lot of people like yourself, like globalist types, would probably do. Like, just move, you can live anywhere.
No, hold on. Okay, I'm just going to steamroll this conversation now because you're trying to make it sound like it's a ridiculous proposition. My proposition might be slightly ridiculous. I agree with that. You can't just have a whole bunch of people move away. But your proposition is even more ridiculous to say, well, a lot of people here really miss Russia and they can't move back to Russia. So how about we just cut off this section of your country and join Russia? Imagine that happening in any other country around the world where there's a whole bunch of Polish people who are like, man, I kind of want to, move back to Germany. But what if we just slice off this part of Poland and now it becomes Germany? Or you get a whole bunch of people, you can't do that with a country. That's ridiculous.
You can.
Okay, well, they're having a civil war right now to figure that out, I guess.
Wait. So it's not as crazy a proposition as you try to pretend that it is.
Okay.
Because this country was formed after the fall of the Soviet Union. It's not like some old, we've always had these borders, we've got like a specific ethnic group of Ukrainians that live within these borders. No, like that. The fucking Russians were already there, okay? And now they're in a situation where we kind of got stranded in here. Some of us want to get the fuck out. Oh, this thing happened in 2014. Now we really want to get the fuck out. So you've got this kind of a civil war. Russia's like, hey, we kind of want to help these people because they're very, very close to us, they're basically just Russians, and it does serve Russia's interests. I'm not going to lie about that, but it also serves the interests of the people that live there, right? And they legitimately do want to fucking leave.
None of what
then we're in a situation.
No, okay, let's. Okay, sorry, no, finish. Go ahead.
So then we're in a situation where, unfortunately, because of the way that Ukraine is, they have a lot of Nazi problems in there. I mean,
they don't have a lot of Nazi problems. It's just not true.
They do. They do.
Okay, so here's the alternate story.
So no.
Oh, come on! I just let you tell your whole bullshit story about Russia wanting to save fucking ethnic Russians. Okay, this is bullshit. Okay, so the reality is that for the duration that the Republic of Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union, that hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians died for a variety of reasons, not the least of which was the fucking Holodomor, these massive fucking famines where Russian soldiers were staged outside. No, fuck you. We're staged outside. Hold on, I just let you tell your whole story. I just let you tell your whole story. Okay, so now I'm going to tell my story, right? So hundreds of thousands, let's all tell us, right? Hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians die. Hundreds of thousands of ethnic Russians are moved in, okay? So the Russification of one of the republics of the Soviet Union, which the Soviet Union did to almost all of their republics, a bunch of people die, you move in a bunch of ethnic Russians. Why? So that in the future, people like you are stupid enough to say, oh my God, well look, there's a whole bunch of ethnic Russians there, therefore that should give them a super legitimate claim to the property. The idea that it used to be part of the Soviet Union, therefore the country of Russia can go back in and take it because there happens to be a bunch of ethnic Russians now that are only there because under the Soviet Union, a fuck ton of Ukrainians died and ethnic Russians were moved in, is not a valid claim to a republic that declared its independence in 91 from the Soviet Union and is its own sovereign state. You can't use prior genocides as justification for future conquest when we're in a world that recognizes nation states, that recognizes borders. It's just not something, that's just inconceivable that you use that argument. Any other country in the world that would just move in a bunch of ethnic people at some point 100 years ago can't come in and say, hey, look, a bunch of our ethnic people are there, we're going to take that place back. You can't do that.
So there's a one-word answer to this, and that is America. So I'm not for like.
Where is America doing this?
Shut the fuck up. So I'm not saying that we should get rid of all the white Americans, send them back, send them where they came from, to the caves and hills of Europe, right? Like I'm not saying that because I do recognize that once they're kind of there, they've settled in. We kind of are in a new world where we can't just fucking get rid of them, right? Like that's kind of what you seem to be suggesting. Maybe you're going to do that. Maybe you're going to move to Sweden. Who knows? But that's certainly not my take. I don't think that all white.
I don't know what
people,
I don't know what you mean when you're saying America.
I don't think all white people.
What is the comparison?
I don't think all white people should be thrown back to Europe just because they kind of went in and they genocided the Native Americans. That's not what I'm saying, Destiny. That's what you're saying. So that's kind of fucking retarded.
I don't know what the comparison is.
Okay, so the comparison is that you said that Russians kind of genocided Ukrainians and went in there and settled, and now they are saying that they have a claim. Similarly, Europeans went to America, genocided people, settled in, and now they have a claim. Okay.
Yeah, but
so are you saying? So if you are saying that the Russians have no claim in Ukraine, no. So you're actually trying to ad hom me. Okay, you're saying that he's schizo posting. This is completely equivalent. The drugs have fucked up your brain, Destiny.
Do you think that we play by the same rule book today that we did 250 years ago? Or 300 or 400 years ago? I guess I'm thinking of the founding of the United States. It's even earlier than that when the colonies
I'm sorry, right? Did the Russians go in, did the massive amount of Russians settle in that region fucking in the 21st century?
No, but the annexation of Crimea happened in 2014, you dipshit.
No,
not in the 1600s.
No, I'm talking about the Russian fucking. No, you're retarded. You're actually so retarded.
Why are you using actions of fucking of fucking monarchs in the 1600s to justify the action of nation states in the year 2014? Like, is that the rule book we should go back to playing by?
So can I ask you something? When did when did this shift happen?
It's honest to God, it's been over the past 300 years. It happened under the Tsarists in fucking Russia as well. But it happened a lot during the Holodomor, during the Soviet Union as well. But what about it?
Oh, so can we get a specific number? Holodomor, let's go.
I can't tell you the specific years when most Ukrainians died and when they were replaced. I'm sorry if that's what I can wiki it if you want.
Okay, listen, let's be clear. It wasn't in 2014, right? So that's just bullshit what you said before.
No, but in 1991, the borders around Ukraine were drawn. You have a republic. You can't go back in now and take it over because of what people did in the 1500s.
Here's what I'm going to tell you. I think that white people have a right to stay in North America as well as South America. I also think that in Eastern Ukraine, a lot of the Russians have a right to stay there. Okay, that's what I believe.
We both believe that. Sure. Yeah.
Okay, nice. So we can proceed. So, where were we actually? Because
somehow you were going to try to connect ethnic Russians staying in Eastern Ukraine is the same thing as Russia invading and stealing territory from Ukraine. You were about to connect that for me. I'm anxious to hear how you can do it.
No, they're not invading. They're actually stopping a genocide upon
There is
that
no
fell
genocide,
off.
though.
No,
No one in the
so
world,
Destiny.
no one
So
in the
Destiny.
who in the world says there's a genocide besides Russia that has every incentive to invade.
Me, myself, and I. So here's
Okay,
why I
gotcha.
said
So there is no
genocide. Okay,
genocide,
listen,
yeah.
listen. I'm schizo posting right now,
I
Destiny.
know. Go ahead.
So listen. So what I've seen happen, and let me remind you, I'm not a tanky. I'm not a communist. I'm not a socialist. I'm a capitalist. I'm kind of a centrist now. I used to be a liberal. What I've seen is these. Well, people have just been saying that, oh, there's a genocide in China. They're getting rid of their culture. And I kind of nodded along. I was like,
That's not what people say that
wait. So I said,
Sorry, go
oh,
ahead.
wait.
Yeah, go ahead.
So okay. Thank you. You're doing the ad hominem thing. It's very offensive.
I didn't even ad hom you. I just said.
Are you laughing? Wait. You're doing
Listen,
also. Okay.
look,
I'm
can
gonna
I-
say- okay,
let me just let's get this a little bit right. So Destiny, I believe you said he was schizo posting, and Husfan, I believe in response you said that Destiny was being retarded or was retarded, one of the two. So I think there's a bit from both ends.
I think
Let's
I
just
shouted it,
chill
but
out.
that's okay. Yeah, go ahead. Talk to us about.
You know, I want to apologize. Okay, I will continue, but I want to apologize. I shouldn't have said that the drugs melted your brains. That was really mean of me.
It's okay. Okay, you were talking about China. You said that it was just a cultural genocide.
So nice. So when people said that there was a cultural genocide that could be like said to be a type of genocide in China, I was like, okay, you know, you can kind of say that like they are getting rid of their culture. They want them to speak the same language as the Han Chinese, and like they kind of act like the Han Chinese and kind of get rid of their own culture. Okay, that's kind of a cultural genocide. In Ukraine, they're getting rid of the Russian language, the Russian customs, the Russian church, which is the Orthodox church, not the Catholic church. And on top of that, something that's not happening, according to evidence that I have it anyway, and you have probably, like I don't think you have evidence for this, but like what's not happening in China is the fucking shelling of civilians and the killing of said civilians, which has been happening in Ukraine for almost 8 years now. So it is much more of a genocide than the China thing. And for fucking years now, all these liberals, okay, fellow libs, have been saying, oh, there's a genocide in Xinjiang, like, oh, these poor fucking people, blah, 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 China's so evil, genocide. And now it's like laughable for me to say that, oh, dude, the Russians are actually being genocided, like they actually have a right because there's been 14,000,
Okay, so historically, one of the reasons why Ukraine might be doing this is because the Soviet Union had a strict policy of Russification, and even prior to the Soviet Union, the czars before them had strict policies where in Ukraine, they were making it illegal to teach the Ukrainian language. They were making it illegal to teach parts of Ukrainian history, and their goal was to eradicate Ukrainian culture because that's how the Russian Empire, even prior to the Soviet Union, worked. So if Ukraine today says, well, hold on, we want to have one language, okay, we want to have the language be only Ukrainian or whatever, or we want to like not have people teaching Russian, because there are issues where through parts of Eastern Ukraine and in Crimea, where a lot of Russian-speaking stuff that's happening is a little bit out of the control of the government. So, for instance, one of the big issues that was going on in Crimea is a lot of the radio stations and a lot of the media there has been owned by Russian oligarchs that continually play Russian propaganda in Ukraine. Now, if we want to say something about the fact that like they shouldn't be able to ban a language or whatever, sure, maybe there are like arguments there. Maybe they shouldn't be able to do that. I think the situation in Ukraine is a little bit unique, especially given the history between them and Russia. But to say that that justifies the invasion of another country to go in and start stealing territory, you're not even close to it.
So it's funny, Destiny, because it seemed to me that you were making my argument kind of because you pointed out correctly that Crimea and East Ukraine have these massive Russian-speaking, you know, ethnic groups that even like listening to Russian radio. So like there's a pretty clear divide between the fucking West Ukraine and East Ukraine.
Wait,
there
do you
kind of
think
seems
I
to be
don't
a
acknowledge that?
Okay, so there kind of
Dude,
seems to be a reason for
Oh,
why they
God.
want to get they kind of seems to be a reason why they want to get out of Ukraine, and there also seems to be a reason, sadly.
Just I'm letting you know everything
why
you're saying
the
right now is a
Western-
waste of time. We'll go back to the first thing you said. But Go
Okay.
ahead, keep rambling.
Okay, so we don't actually have to ramble, so we can agree that.
Okay, so do you
wait,
understand?
no.
Okay, yeah, okay, go
Just
back to
clarify.
rambling. Go ahead.
So we already agree that there's a divide. So now it's a question of what is it justified for Russia to invade? And yes, I will call it an invasion. I'll call it an attack, a war, whatever. I'm not a tanky co-parter. So is it justified for them to go in and save, in their eyes, right, and in my eyes also, save the Russian ethnic group inside of Ukraine that is being shelled, killed, their culture is being destroyed. They're not allowed to speak Russian, okay? You admitted that. Is it?
I didn't
is
say
it
they're
not
not. I didn't
justified?
say they're not allowed to speak Russian.
Is it not? Okay.
It just
They're trying to get rid
of
of it.
Can we let Destiny get in a bit? Because Jesus Christ.
Well, no,
like,
that's
yeah.
go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay.
That's right. You should apologize. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. The idea, first of all, if you keep bringing up points that like aren't true, then of course, like, I mean, it looks like I should obviously be on your side. You keep bringing up like the shelling of civilians, the murder, the genocide of civilians. Nobody says that's happening. It's been declared by the International Court of Justice that's not happening. The idea
has
that
happened.
It's no, hold on. Civilians might be dying during a civil war. Yeah, of course, it's possible. Just like a lot of civilians are being murdered right now by Russian invading forces in cities, especially Mariupol, which is the one we hear about every fucking day, where Russia literally put out a threat yesterday. I don't know what the follow-up on that, because I haven't checked any news today, is where they said that if like fucking people don't leave, we're gonna start holding military tribunals for everybody left in the fucking city. Okay, so yeah, civilians have been dying in East Ukraine. That doesn't make it a genocide. And again, that doesn't mean that another country can come in and invade and start stealing territory from you. Also, keep in mind, one of the big reasons why the civil war has been going on for 8 fucking years is because Russia has been sending money, troops, supplies, military forces into East Ukraine to help the civil war continue on. So it's a little bit strange to blame Ukraine for that civil war solely when Russia has been one of the big instigators of it.
Yes, they have been helping their fellow Russians who are under genocide. I agree with that. I think that that's oh my God. So I'm sorry. It's just so I am mixed race. I'm sorry to say this, but there is just a difference between like Ukrainians and Russians who kind of have their own culture and they want to kind of live differently. There have been legitimate griefs between these two, and there has been a civil war. They do want to leave. They have a right to be there, just like white Americans have a right to be in America. Why
no one is
can't
talking
they
about the
actually
right to
just
be
free?
there. Why do you
can't they
keep
be
repeating
free?
shit that we agree on? Why do you say
Because-
that? They have a right to be there. We're not talking about their right to be there. We're talking about the right for Russia to invade and steal the territory.
I go further with it. I'm going further with it.
No, you're not going
When I
further
say-
with it. You're just
No, Destiny.
Oh my God.
When I say that they have a right to be there, I'm saying that they have a right to have their own state. They have the
No,
right
you
to
don't. No one
choose
has
for
that right in a
themselves.
country. What are you talking about?
Well, technically, nobody has any rights at all, right? Like if you go.
Oh my
go
God!
even-
And then the
like, we wanna
ultimate
do
nihilist
philosophy
position.
now.
afterwards.
Like, do
Nice
you want
job,
to do
dude.
philosophy? What are
So
we talking about
intellectual.
here?
So intellectual.
Oh my
dude.
God, so fucking deep, so high IQ.
No, you never mind. You're right.
Anyway,
Actually, any
nothing
group of
false.
people anywhere that I think. Do you think white people in South Africa should be able to break off and make their own country to protect their, interests?
So I told you that. Okay, let me give you a long answer. I told you that I'm half Nigerian, half Finnish. The thing with South Africa is that they do actually they're not only racist towards whites, they will actually also kill like Nigerian immigrants that go in there. I wouldn't just completely be against like the whites like having a state in there. I don't care. Like,
Okay. Well, hey, listen. At least you're consistent. Okay, I appreciate it.
No problem, buddy.
Sorry, I think we've reached a point maybe we disagree. There's a very another important matter to get to, which is in regards to a video you sent me, Fan, which I believe was accusing Destiny of being a cuck. I just wondered if you could speak to that a bit, as the man is here.
Nice.
I personally, I just don't give a fuck. Okay, I don't give a fuck if he's a cuck.
Why
he's
did
a
you
cuck,
link me the
I don't care.
video? Why did you link me the video if you don't care? That's a bit weird.
So what I've seen happening is like I'm not the type of person who gets triggered over like these jokes. Haas is. I like watching Haas. I've recently switched from the pedophilic DGG community of pedophiles, right? I've switched from that to being a sun gorilla, okay? And I just hate it when this potential pedophile, bullies my parasocial father, Haas, on Twitter, and I kind of just wanted to bully him back. That's it.
Don't you think it's a little bit sad that Haas is like genuinely getting upset and crying over stuff that's shit posted on Twitter? Like,
Yeah,
I'll give you a hint if you want to help your daddy out. The only reason that I still shit post about him on Twitter is because he literally went on Zerka's stream crying, saying like, "This is serious. This is war. I got to win the battle of the war on Twitter." Like he actually.
So
goes
listen,
yeah.
Stephen, I know exactly. Like I have watched you for a long time, so that's precisely the type of thing that you want to do. You find these people who are vulnerable, and then you abuse them. Yes, we know
Hold
that.
on. You do know that I was like one of the only people that was willing to prop Haas up in the beginning, right?
Were you just doing that to watch him fall, just so you could bully him?
No, I did it because I thought he was funny. I thought he was an entertaining guy. When Vosh wouldn't talk to him, when no
I
lefty
don't
would
believe
talk
you.
to him. Hold on. How long have you been a fan of Haas for? I've known Haas longer than you have, I guess. We can go back to our Discord thing where he's asking me for tips on growing his YouTube channel, where I'm giving him like tips on like, hey, you should have these. Like, what do you mean? Like, I was like the only person on this entire fucking platform that would give that to the time of day because everybody just said, oh, he's a fucking troll that just wants attention, and nobody would talk to him except for me. How do you like? He got connected from me through fucking Zerka, and then now he's like doing decently on Twitch. Like, how are you gonna try to say that I was like the initial abuser when I was the only person that would even hear him out?
I don't know if you were the first person who talked to him. I think he talked to Wash as well. Like,
Yeah,
he's
and then
been
afterwards,
getting around.
everybody called him a troll, and nobody wanted to talk to him again.
Actually, as a true infrared Haas fan, I can say the first person he debated was Xanderhall.
Nice. Actually, as a true Haas fan, also the first person he debated was actually me. It was on Zerka's stream a long time ago before he was known as Haas.
Damn.
Actually, yeah, it was
Shit,
somebody has
the
like the
deep
original
lore.
YouTube
The deep
video.
lore.
Yeah, the deep lore. It was when he was on Discord as like a random user, a random fan in Zerka's chat.
Okay. Damn. There we go.
Listen, I just want to be clear about this Russia thing because it is really saddening to me, as somebody who does genuinely support them, that I'm banned from talking about this. I'm banned from like even like searching for. Well, okay, you would say that it's conspiracy theories, but like I'm genuinely just banned from like all these fucking sites, including RT, okay, the fucking meme, right? But like, I can't talk about this at all. So I would like to give my finishing, touches here. Like, we don't support them because we want to see Ukrainians die. We don't think that like all Ukrainians are Nazis. The problem is that they genuinely do have a high amount of Nazis connected to the government, basically genociding the Russian population. It is that simple, okay? And I am sad that the war is still going on. I wish it would end, but the reason why it's going on, and by the way, the Russians are doing it as civilly as they can, like they're doing it as nicely as possible. It is a war. There's going to be casualties, but you still have internet. You mostly have food, water, electricity.
Not in any of the cities being surrounded and shelled right now. Not in Mariupol.
Yes,
all of that is
here comes the point, Destiny. Like, I really am sad that it's still going on because I wish they would just
surrender.
Give up, okay, that's what I. No, listen. Because when we look at the facts of the matter, okay, according to the Western media, supposedly there was like multiple kilometers of like Russian vehicles outside of Kiev, right? Like that was the claim that I saw in the Western media, right? I don't know if it's true or not. I don't follow like every minute detail, and I'm not there personally. So, but like the point is that if that is true, according to the Western media, it was. How the fuck is it possible that if the Ukrainians have any kind of fighting force left to fight the Russians, how could they not do anything about this supposedly 5-kilometer fucking line of vehicles that supposedly doesn't have any fuel left? Like, there's no fuel, they can't do anything. Supposedly their logistics are a complete catastrophe. Why can't the Ukrainians do anything? Well, the answer seems to be that they just don't have a real fighting force left, which means that all the Ukrainians are doing is prolonging the conflict, and more people are going to die, and it's just inevitable. And it's just going to be like a defeat for the Ukrainians. And it seems that it's actually the Ukrainians who are maximizing the casualties, not the fucking Russians. It is sad because, like, I just want it to end, but it is actually, unironically, it is the fucking Ukrainians that are keeping it going. But that's
okay, yeah. I don't have a notepad to write down like I can't fucking pause this.
Okay.
Okay. Serious. Like every dumb thing you're saying. But like this
Wow,
idea
okay,
that, well, because
an ad.
like this idea,
Is it
it's not,
because
no,
I'm
no, hold
black?
on, it's not an ad hom. I'm not saying you're stupid and that's why it's dumb. I'm saying what you're saying is dumb because it's dumb. That's not an ad hom, okay? Like the idea that like, wow, like it's so sad the war is still going, they should just give up, so it's their fault for not giving up, is a little kind of a ridiculous statement, right? To be fair, a lot of people thought that this conflict was going to end like in 2 weeks at the most. And I think even Putin thought this conflict was going to be over soon. So,
So
hey,
I can say something about that.
hold on. No, you just said like a million things, okay? Maybe it will be the case that Ukrainians are able to resist long enough that Russia has to leave. In that case, all of these cries for them to just, give up, blah, 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 seem to be pretty short-sighted or dumb if that is the case, no?
Okay, so the sad truth is that people are saying that, because like, okay, Putin did say that he could take Kiev in 2 weeks to some Italian or some person like a few years ago. Like I remember that. But the thing is that like the way that the Russians have waged war is that they have gone in pretty like I was gonna say peacefully, but like it is a war, okay? They've gone about it very nicely. That's all I can say. Like
I need volume. I keep thinking that I've hit him into his crit stance, but he's actually just shouting, but I don't hear the noise because I'm talking to this fucking moron.
being super fucking nice about it. So obviously that's the reason why it's gonna take longer, okay? And I just want to give credit to the great Tsar Putin, who like I guess I should
How could
talk
you
like
give
this
credit to
because
him when he's botched this invasion so hard? Like people
No,
all
it's
around
not
the
botching.
world. They all of the on.
No, so the reason why it's not botching is that there's actually a reason for it taking longer than intended, and the reason is to avoid casualties as much as possible. That's why it's not
No,
botching.
come on,
Yes,
that's
yes,
such bullshit.
yes.
Then why are they shelling Mariupol now? Why have they cut off all humanitarian aid? The reason why did they try to bum rush Kyiv so quickly and lose so much armor and so much unsupplied forces initially? It's because they thought they were going to win quickly. It's not because they were trying to minimize casualties. Like
So on the first
hold on, you
days-
do know that Putin's like history with warfare. Would you say that they were trying to minimize casualties in Aleppo in Syria, or trying to minimize casualties in Grozny, or trying to minimize
but they're
casualties
doing
in
it in
South
Ukraine.
Ossetia? No, come on, dude. This isn't how Putin conducts war. They thought they could win quickly and easily because they'd get to Kyiv quickly, depose the government, and install something new. And they didn't know that either one, their military sucked more than they thought, or two, the Ukrainian military was better than they thought, or three, all of the combined support from other countries, including intelligence and military supplies, has actually tipped the scale a little bit more in Ukraine's favor than Russia initially thought, which is why they've had to go back to the drawing board over and over and over again to realize that you can't just like roll a tank down a street without any fucking friends nearby and not expect to get blown the fuck up. To say that they're just doing this out of the benignness, the goodness of their heart is so unimaginably naive.
I don't think so. So on the first days, they went for military targets. That's a fact. They weren't going for residential buildings. They weren't doing any of that. Now, the war has been going on for quite a while now. They're taking cities like Mariupol, right? This is basically an Azov base. We have footage that you're going to say, oh my God, it's fucking propaganda. It's fake. It's fake. I can send the fucking footage to you of these civilians finally liberated from Mariupol saying that they were fucking held as human hostages, basically, because the fucking Azov cunts who are stationed there know that once the Russians come in, they're going to kill them. That is what denazification means. That is, by the way, I think that you said before that they were having like tribunals in Mariupol.
No, that
Did you say
Putin
that?
said that if they don't give up by 5 a.m. today, they were going to come in, fuck everybody up, and then hold military tribunals, which means they're going to start indiscriminately executing and mass graving civilians that they feel like they don't like. That's essentially what it means.
Okay. So what I've seen is that they have actually allowed civilians out. What they have done is they've checked them for Nazi tattoos, which is funny because like Destiny, of course, says that there's no Nazi problem whatsoever, of course. There's no, like the denazification is a complete lie. There's no, Azov aren't Nazis, nobody's a Nazi in Ukraine. But they actually have. Okay, so let me try to make a coherent point. I'm not good at this because I'm not a fucking debater or a streamer. But what has happened is because this has been going on for such a long time, yes, they kind of have to take harder measures. So yes, they are going to try to starve out the city. Yes, that is what they're doing. Yes, they're going to be bombing more. I will admit that. But like when it comes to it, when you're so clearly losing, I do think that the Zelensky regime has some culpability in that. For civilians dying.
Okay, if you think that there is such a huge Nazi problem and you want to use that talking point over and over again, why doesn't Russia do anything about Nazis that live in Russia?
They do something about it, actually.
The Russian imperial movement operates freely out of St. Petersburg. There is no, like, these people coordinate with neo-Nazi groups all across Europe. Nothing operates like that in Russia without Putin basically approving of it. So, like, if there was such a huge Nazi problem, why wouldn't groups like this be taken care of before trying to invade another country? Right? You realize that the whole thing is just a bullshit to sell the war to people.
No, I disagree with that. Hold on. Russian imperial movement. What should I know about this?
It's a big neo-Nazi movement that operates out of, I think St. Petersburg is, oh my God, I didn't mean to have this fucking scream. They operate out of St. Petersburg, but these people have, they coordinate with like other people, other like neo-Nazi groups all across Europe. The most famous case that I could find was they helped, there were 3 neo-Nazis in Sweden, and they went to St. Petersburg. They got a bunch of training. Then they went back to Sweden. They bombed an asylum center. Or what about the fact that the founder, the co-founder of the Wagner Group, is literally like a fucking neo-Nazi? Does that bother you? Do you give a fuck about that, or?
No, so the reason why I don't care about the Wagner Group especially is that it's not really connected to the government.
Really?
And it doesn't. Yes. Okay, so really. So the only connection is that it is hired, okay? They do hire the services and they do throw them out into conflicts, okay?
So do you say that
Basically,
like
that's kind of-
Lockheed Martin or Boeing or none of these private military companies, do you say like, oh, well, they're not connected to the US government? Why would you say that?
So when I talk about that, when I say that they're not connected to it, I'm saying that they use them as tools, as soldiers.
Yeah, so that
basically,
people like
do-
you can go, oh, well, look, they're not connected. That's the whole reason.
Okay, so the difference with Ukraine is that in Ukraine, if the Wagner Group was in Ukraine, which they have comparable organizations, the right sector as of, what they do is that they can become fucking mayors, they can become politicians, but most importantly, they do police work, they do security work, they fight against the Russians in the east.
Hold on, that's
And
not
that is
all
why-
the Wagner Group does. The Wagner Group is a paramilitary group that does operations all over the world on behalf of
Yeah,
Russia.
you know what? One of their operations is training fucking troops in Africa.
Obama.
Wow, big fucking deal. I don't personally really care about that because they are literally just lapdogs who do as commanded, but they actually don't operate as like police or whatever the fuck. They are not able to like fulfill their neo-Nazi ideology if they have any.
Okay, how is the Azov battalion, which is part of the Ukraine military, how are they fulfilling their Nazi ideology, working under a fucking Jew? What?
By killing the Russians in the east, genociding them.
Okay, the genocide that nobody else has said besides Russia is happening. That genocide.
No, so you're going with the Western perspective again.
I'm going with the international court's perspectives.
Okay.
I'm sorry, has China said there's a genocide going on against Ukraine?
Okay. Listen, I'm just a Nigerian boy. I'm saying that there is a genocide.
Does anybody? I'm curious in my chat. Has China come out and said there is a genocide in eastern Ukraine? Irk.
So, what's going on?
No, and they never would. Yeah. Okay.
So I'm wondering what we should debate about now.
Well, I don't know. Is there anything we don't have to force it? Like, if it's come to a natural conclusion, obviously we've come back from the cuckold stuff. That's fine. Were there any other personal details of Destiny's life you wanted to discuss? I don't
actually
know. It
are.
seems like you're quite interested in that, so I don't know. I don't really.
So I could actually talk about this for like 5 hours, possibly.
Okay.
Like I think I heard him play League. Let's see, is he streaming?
No, that's my hard line. We don't talk about League here. Okay. That's too much.
We do actually talk about League because you're completely garbage at League of Legends. When I see you
Okay.